Hello, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. Today, we have a very special episode, and to some of my younger viewers who I believe is probably joining us tonight, I just have to say goo goo gaga, which is baby for I would like to speak with my financial advisor, because today we are going to be discussing Trump accounts, which is, I guess, the new Wall Street for babies, is what we're learning. Before we get into that, though, because today we have a lot to cram in and I want to make sure we have time for it all, I want to go through. I started a Reddit page, a Reddit thread for the Dre dossier. If you are not already subscribed over there or following over there, you absolutely should. And I've decided that I have so many of you that are sending me all of these really incredible links to all of these different projects you're making and holding people accountable, holding the administration accountable. And this should be a better mic now. Okay, cool. And holding, you guys have had to hear the joke in the bad mic. Oh God. And so I wanted to share some of those with you guys since we have so many of them sitting in my inbox. And please feel inspired. Please feel free to join this thread as well. So I will show you first. Let me tee this guy up. Keep this in front of me here. Okay. Share screen over here. First up, we have something called Daylight, which was created by Kevin Stoss, who sent this over to me. Oh, sorry, Gabby. Yeah, I played with this the other day. I was doing stuff. Here we go. Wait, we'll do it like this. There we go. Kevin Stoss, who made Daylight, and it is a federal kind of watchdog tool. And I am going to be linking these. Gabby will help me link these in the description after we're done. But this is a public record of who runs through the federal web and what is changing when nobody is looking. And I've clicked through it a little bit, but you can essentially type in all of these .govs that I've been tracking as well and look them up. And he's just got this really incredible website that is so incredibly detailed. I could probably spend hours going through it. By the way, this rec.gov, this just popped up like, I believe, a day or two after the Guardian article for National Design Studio. I'm still not sure totally what it does. I thought it was going to be like a recording thing, but it sounds like it's for the Department of Agriculture, which is interesting. But yeah, this is an incredibly Daylight. This is such a cool tool, and I'm so grateful that you guys make stuff like this and send it to me. The other one is, let me show you over here. Stop sharing and then share. We'll do this one. This is the Reddit thread that I am talking about. So people have been sharing down here all of these things that they're working on. So we have someone, this is a GitHub, so you have to be a little more tech savvy to probably be able to use it as well. But it's a open security mapping project for ICE detention centers and scrapers, which this is going to be probably pretty useful to me in my own research because I have something I'm working on with Neuralink. Some of you may or may not know, but this is really cool. It looks like they have the Python code available for you, so you can run it on your own program if you have. He mentioned making, or they mentioned making something potentially like a visual. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but this is also a really cool tool that I clicked through a little bit when, oh, I'm not showing you. Good God, Gabby, I can't believe myself. Here we go. The kinks, guys. I thought we were the kinks in here. This is the GitHub. It's really helpful. This is the ICE detention facility scraper I'm talking about. And its purpose is to identify all of the detention facilities and have data on Wikipedia, Wikidata, and OpenStreetMap. And I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot more of them. Oh my God. And so this is a really helpful tool. I need to run some of this myself. This looks kind of interesting. Yeah, Hong Pong, Dan Feet. So again, this will be linked as well in the description after. And then we've got one last one I want to share with you guys here. It's called Let's do share. It's this one down here. FOIA around and find out. Okay. This one is great. So FOIA around and find out was made by Walking Worm Food. Funny enough, when I first saw this, before Walking Worm Food sent this to me, I was just, I do some of my own scraping and stuff on GitHub, and then I have it occasionally scrape for the Dre dossier just so I can see if anybody has anything set up to scrape for me, like National Design Studio or a DOGE operative or whatever, just to keep tabs on people keeping tabs, if that makes sense. And Walking Worm Food had made this FOIA around and find out and cited me in it. And so everything that kept coming back was like, there's something called Walking Worm Food and it's got your name in it a bunch, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was a threat from DOGE or somebody for a while. And then it was a relief when he messaged me and he was like, hey, I made this cool thing for you. And I was like, oh, there we go. I thought it was like someone's like, your time's limited, main character syndrome. Yeah, this is FOIA around and find out. And it is a really helpful ability to put together these FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act, letters for you to then send to your congressional member. The important thing with FOIAs is that if you do not fill them out properly, they will often be ignored, rejected, or just you won't get the right information back because it's like they will literally only do exactly what you ask them to do on it. No room for nuance, no room for interpretation. And so tools like this are really helpful. And they have also linked other tools within it for you to be able to use, but you can do it by so many filtering categories. Oh my God, it's so overwhelming almost. Who reported it? Oh, that's great. I didn't see this one before. Baron Coleman. Shout out Baron. Drake dossier 11. What 11? Oh, I'll look at that later. But yeah, you can click through this. I highly recommend it. Really cool aggregator tools, guys. And I would love to encourage people to keep doing this. Like I said, the Reddit page, the Dre dossier, please go over there every week. I'm going to, before the live, on the Friday or so before, leave a thread for everybody to post their own links for aggregating tools. We have some discussions over here, and I would like to encourage people to just participate because there's a really cool community, and I want to build this OSINT tool bag together. So with that, let's move into today's show. And I would like to start by grabbing, okay. So today we're going to be talking about Trump accounts, like I said. This is the new, Trump accounts is the brand of the new federal program where eligible babies get $1,000 of government deposits invested in their future, right? So if you are a baby that was born between January 1st, 2025 and before December 31st, 2028, then congratulations, your baby qualifies for one of these Trump accounts. Now, there is a little nuance to this that we'll get into in a moment. But essentially, that is like the gist of the investment of $1,000 that the Trump administration is willing to give you. Now, they may not have object permanency yet, so keep in mind, but they will need to know how to put together an investment strategy. If that does not describe your baby, tough. Anyways, so one of the things they don't tell you about the Trump accounts is that the $1,000 only goes to the kid if it's a newborn and it's between those dates I just said. Otherwise, you can still create a Trump account for your kid, which will be, I believe, free still to do. However, they will not give you that $1,000. They're trying to encourage us to populate the Americas because I'm pretty sure they're running low on training data. So they probably need a few more of us running around to grab some of that. So if you can spit a baby out, you can have $1,000. I think raises it until it's about 3 or 4. And then from there, we'll figure it out. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind before you go, rushing over to set up your very own Trump Kid account, just called Trump accounts. To get your money and enroll your kid, you have to hand over 3 things, which are important. You have to hand over their name, their birthday, and their social security number to start, which means that the federal government is now collecting these social security numbers of millions of American children that are going to be corroborated with a financial institution that they otherwise would not have. Now, I know a lot of us tend to think, well, the government already has these things on us anyways. The government already has our social security numbers and our health somewhere and our, financial somewhere. What's the difference? The more they unify these pieces of information and they create a frictionless environment, the more we are at risk of becoming cattle, so to speak, on their ranch, because they are able to do so much more with this aggregated information, which is why the United States of America, 50 states, has state laws and has all of these divides. It's frustrating beyond belief, I know, going to the DMV and going to courthouses and going to all of these different places to have to get these pieces of information. But there is a beauty in the friction that I don't think people often think about, because we're not trained to think about it that way. We are trained to think about everything as a bug to then mitigate out of the system. And that is kind of what National Design Studio, which Trump accounts is going to be a larger story about National Design Studio, that is what they're doing. And they're doing it through a couple of very clever front doors, not even back doors, just front doors. And the biometrics of kids is going to be on top of what is collected, which we'll get into more in a moment here. But I wanted to start by showing you guys a video of I found this really great. Okay, I found this really great video by this one. By PBS NewsHour. Please donate to them. They're having a fundraiser if you can. And I wanted to show you guys, share this tab, stage. Okay. We're going to watch this. Wait, let me make sure. I hit the right thing. There we go. Okay. Tell me if you guys can hear this. Gabby, thumbs up me if you can hear this.
Officially open. They're the first.
Great. All right. So we're going to watch a little bit of this, not the full 9 minutes, but there are a couple parts of this that I do find really interesting that do a great job of going into a little bit of what Trump accounts is all about. So with that.
First federal tax-advantaged investment accounts for kids. President Trump celebrated the launch this morning in the Oval Office.
These children are going to have actually accounts. They're going to learn about.
By the way, who is that woman that I've seen in all of the pictures and videos that's standing back there? If you know, shout it out in the comments.
Finance a little bit. They can watch it. We're going to all watch it grow together.
Some 87 companies, foundations, individuals, and states have announced contributions to the accounts. The question is, can they deliver the benefits over the long haul that are being promoted? Our economics correspondent Paul Solomon walked through the base.
Wait, did she say Reaganomics correspondent? Let me turn on the CCs here. Oh, our economics. Oh my God, I was scared for a second. I'm like, PBS, you have gone really downhill. Okay, my bad, guys. I'm going to keep that.
It's over the long haul that are being promoted. Our economics correspondent Paul Solomon walked through the basics after the new accounts became law. Here's an updated look at what you need to know.
Trump accounts will be the first, I guess you could say, real trust funds for every American child.
To which tech.
You know how Trump's kids have a trust fund of $1,000? It's the same thing. They'll have the same opportunity is what he's trying to say.
Billionaire Michael Dell added.
We believe the smartest investment that we can make is an investment in children.
So what exactly are these so-called Trump accounts?
Part of last year's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, they're tax-advantaged savings accounts invested in a low-cost stock index fund. They're available for every American child up to age 18. Families opt in through a tax form and can contribute $5,000 annually. For kids born between 2025 and 2028, Uncle Sam salts away $1,000. Now, more than 6 million children have been signed up, but only about 1.4 million were young enough to qualify for the government money. Philanthropists, employers, and states can also contribute to the accounts. Susan and Michael Dell were the first of many contributors.
Moms and dads adding $5-10 a week Kids saving a little money in the summertime, philanthropists like the Dells, states like the state of Texas that said they're going to add $1,000 to these accounts.
Silicon Valley entrepreneur Brad Gerstner helped make the idea a reality.
The objective here is to get the 70% Americans who feel left out and left behind by capitalism into the game, to make everybody a capitalist from birth, sharing in the great upside of the American economy.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, you heard it on PBS first. It is about time this country had capitalists from birth. It's the only way we're going to defeat the socialists. Now, I try not to get political, which I know sounds crazy. I genuinely do try to stay focused on tech here because if tech just so happens to be political, that is technology's fault rather than it being my own. However, the fact that somebody can say with their full chest that they want to encourage capitalists from birth is kind of wild, right? Like he said that very sincerely on PBS NewsHour, which is just fascinating. We're gonna watch just a little bit more of this, but it's giving it's setting the tone. It's giving Twilight Zone meets Succession, and it's just a bunch of like Boss Baby animations,
Savings bonds. Now, watch how they grow.
Now, putting money away for a kid was pretty common back when folks like me and Teresa Gillarducci were babes in the woods.
I use my own example of what happened when my grandmother gave me a little baby bond.
She eventually became a prominent economist, a left-wing one who's long promoted something like government trust funds from birth. She even wrote a proposal for them,
along with Kevin Hassett, who's on the other side of me on the political spectrum.
Kevin Hassett, President Trump's top economic advisor. Given her politics, how could she pair up with him?
We came together as economists, and we know that wealth gives people security and power.
She and Hassett, despite their different politics, have now been meeting with Brad Gerstner. That comes as no surprise to early wealth-building expert Ray Bashara.
I've been working on this idea for 20 years, and it's been bipartisan over those 20 years.
So I don't know how I feel about government. If we're not willing to chip in with taxes to pay for simple things like, a higher minimum wage or just better healthcare options, I just don't see where these investment accounts from our government, when is Wall Street all of a sudden going to get so excited to invest in kids? I just don't see the difference, I guess, in starting a trust fund for each individual kid. I mean, other than the metrics of how it, gains money versus taxes paying for things that we would otherwise need to shell out of pocket for. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I will fast forward really quick. I want to get back to more of, this guy's piece.
Next, Brad Gerstner will be sympathetic. And to listen, her tweak of choice: eliminate tax advantage for families earning over $250,000 per year to make the program more progressive. She expects Brad Gerstner will be sympathetic. And to listen to him, he may be.
I started this when my oldest child was 13 years old, coming out of COVID, 2021, and I showed them the custodial accounts that I had opened at birth and added to over the years, and they had compounded into a fair bit of money. And my oldest son, Lincoln, said to me, "Dad, this is incredible, but what about all the other kids who don't have these?" And that really was the conversation around our dinner table that led to the birth of Invest America.
And now here's another problem: a teenager and money. What happens when he or she turns 18 and suddenly there's a windfall?
I used to be a Boy Scout counselor for the personal finance merit batch. And I talked to many teenage boys, over the years about their finances. I bet that 90% of the teenagers that you talk to will say that they would buy a car or somehow fix their car.
What did she do with the grandma bond?
The bond that my grandmother gave me was cashed in to pay our back rent.
As a father of a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, I think about that all the time.
And so
as you can see, there's not a lot of plans for beyond this $1,000 that is being seeded. So I just wanted to give you guys a little taste. I encourage you to watch this whole thing. It's 9 minutes, but it's just kind of interesting. Gives you a little bit of a backstory on these investments and bonds. And, I'm not somebody who me scoot back to the middle here. I'm not somebody who had, I don't think investments as a kid. I would know about that, right? I don't think I did. Yeah, it is an interesting thing to go learn about. And I do want to preface the rest of this live stream by saying anything that I'm saying here is not financial advice. If you are 1 to 8 months old, do not take this as financial advice. Consult your own financial advisor, which you will have to find independently. But yeah, with that, moving on. So from here, normally, and I cannot stress how normal this used to be in an administration, when the government scoops up the most sensitive data on millions of kids, right? Like biometrics, with Robinhood app, you have to scan your face, do the whole, biometric scan thing. A privacy paperwork had to exist first. A privacy assessment is what it's called. This is a list of who's allowed to touch that data. Now, a public notice naming the outside companies in the room is what that list is supposed to contain, right? So if it's the Treasury who's going to be holding that information, then they have to say if like Robinhood or Facebook or anybody else for any given reason have the right to touch your kids' information. And unfortunately, with this administration, I don't know if you can tell, but they don't always tend to like to file a lot of paperwork and leave a trail. And so anyways, this is something that I'm consistently running across as a problem, especially with the National Design Studio, because let's be real, it's not the Pentagon Papers here, okay? This is a file and forget it kind of stuff. So the fact that they aren't doing this feels very intentional to me. And it's the part of the government that is supposed to be boring and puts you down for a nap, but it's important to be able to go find this paperwork because it will tell you exactly what their mechanisms and levers are for collecting information. So I went looking for that boring paperwork late last night and early this morning. And what I have found is that there are 2 doors that the Trump accounts you can enter through, right? So there is one privacy assessment that exists in the Treasury, right? And it got signed. I'll pull that up for you guys right now. And that got signed on May 18th. Un momento. There we go. Well, and let me show. Okay, no, I'll show you the privacy assessment first, and then I'll show you the websites. So, share screen. Discuss. Okay, mirror. Gotta figure that out. Okay. So this is the Privacy and Civil Liberties Impact Assessment. Now, this exists for only the Treasury, and we're going to get to why it doesn't exist for National Design Studio in a moment here. But this is what that looks like. May 18th, 2026. These are the reviewing officials. Really boring stuff. It's 24 pages, which I think, fun fact, makes it longer than the Constitution. Don't quote me on that. You know how you like to hear people giving information saying, don't quote me on that. And they go through like the artificial intelligence and everything that's going to be running on this, right? However, there's a lot of paperwork that's left on the floor here, and this document could not find a room within it to name any single company. So it's literally one job is supposed to tell you not what it's doing to necessarily just what it's doing to this data from your children, but who's doing it to them, because they have their own privacy assessments, right, that they're going to abide by. So you can see how things stack on top of each other and create a tech stack of sorts. And so there are supposed to be, from what I found, running on the back ends of these websites, which I'll show you in a minute, are 12 plus outside vendors running on the site that is going to keep your kids' biometric financial information, which includes session recorders, fingerprints, behavioral biometrics, and like the entire works of this kind of monitoring. And that's before we even get to the app part of it. This is just on the government website. And the government's official privacy document mentions exactly 0 of them by name, which is a problem, ish, right? It's kind of like when I found the post hog recording on the National Design Studio's websites, and then they ripped them down once the Guardian sent them questions about it. The least guilty thing you can do. But yeah, essentially there is not one name mentioned from any of these trackers that I found on the front end of these websites. And it, makes all these promises and whatnot. But again, if it's not naming who has access to it, then you do not know who or what privacy policies are also going to be governing that information. Now, the enrollment form for this program got its security certificate on February 10th. And that means that as of February 10th, a parent could theoretically start typing their kid's social security number into a live web form, right? The Treasury did not sign the privacy assessment until May 18th, I found. So there's a 3-month discrepancy there that potentially, especially because Trump started talking about Trump accounts earlier than before it launched. That doesn't mean that they officially launched it. However, if they had the front end of websites ready to go, which according to the Wayback Machine, they did, and you were curious and you went to go just, type around on it and whatnot, they had recording sessions that were active at that time. So the 3 months and 8 days later that the paperwork was supposed to exist first, the federal privacy framework, building around that whole concept showed up basically a full quarter after the front door was already open to people putting in that information for their kids. And now the surprise that I found within this, let me pull this guy down, is that there is not only one front door to access this kind of information. There are 2 front doors, and I will show you them now. So you have, here, I'll actually show you my screen first because stop sharing. Okay. Because when I run my analytics recorder, okay, we're going to pull up the analytics recorder first. Okay, we'll go to here. All right. So you have trumpaccounts.gov, which is the federal government website. Now I've already looked through most of these. Most of these on the government website are a bit benign. So I just want to show you that what you can do before you go onto a website. I like to open the front end of the website just to see what loads when I first go onto it. Most of it will be just, little assets. Like they love these freaking Wix annoying assets, which I'm still trying to figure out what their role in all of this is because it's really poor design, but like the pages are so busy. And like with these little tiny things, I got to figure out how to open those up as well. But they're these little, I don't know. I hate it. It's looks like Wix threw up on a Squarespace and then went to AI and Pinterest. But this is what the government accounts look like. And it shows you all of these different savings, contributing to it, all of the different advisors. By the way, shouldn't these be mentioned in a certain privacy assessment? Yes, and they aren't. So, that's something to keep in mind. And I always hate whenever I have to see Teddy Roosevelt in the background of Trump making speeches. Like, look, he wasn't a perfect guy, I know, but it just feels so blasphemous, It almost feels intentional. And it goes through all of this stuff, right? And all the announcements. And they are pushing this really, really hard. Like Joe Gebbia has been posting about this all day. I've been trying to bully him on social media all day, but it's been hard to keep up. Let's see. Let's go. Let me stop sharing screen. So you've got the government website. Now you also have a website called trumpaccounts.com. Let's do Chrome tab, this one. Okay. It's called trumpaccounts.com, which is different than the .gov one. Oh, wait, no, it's Trump account, which someone's sitting on that one. There we go. Looks very much similar, very almost the same. And this is where the app comes from. So you can sign up, through this, the notes on data sharing, which by the way, a note on data sharing isn't the same thing as having a privacy assessment ready to go, which they don't. And what is even more irritable is that Trump on his first day in office, he motion to pause a lot of different children's privacy laws online, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, these titles and stuff sound like they're protecting you for something. They're all pointing to a privacy privacy account that is supposed to be available and is not. So in any case, so yeah, there are 2 doors, and those are the 2 doors. So you've got the .gov website, which is going to tell you everything about what this app does, and then that's the app, and then you can go on the App Store and also download it. So COPA, which is the actual children's privacy law that I was just referring to, was built for commercial child-directed services, and it was part of the parent-facing app run partially by a federal office. So in this case, it slips in the gap. And the National Design Studio, being the one who has built all of these websites, on top of that, which you can't normally, you can see their hyperlink at the bottom, and in this case they don't have it available on the app anyways, but on the government website I believe they should. Yeah, they do. They, I believe, are building the second front door that I'm talking about, that's collecting a lot of this information. Now, what is scary about the National Design Studio is the fact that it's, as I've said, it's not a federal agency in the way that you have the State Department agency, the way you have any other functioning agency, like it functions under the EOP basically as the same thing that DOGE did, which was an initiative that is like pro bono working, like volunteering for the government essentially. And so it runs by different laws. And by building these websites, they are skirting a lot of those walls, which is how they're able to collect a lot of this information. And the EOP also having anything under that federal register, which trumpaccounts.gov is, a lot of the records and data and stuff that's being scraped right now as we speak can be sealed under the Presidential Records Act, which means that until like 2040, we won't be able to know exactly how much information they took. And that's pretty scary. It creates this accountability vacuum that, again, feels very intentional on their part. And you can tell it's an accountability vacuum because of the way that they react when you call them out on it, like through the post hog and auto monitor screenings that I found on their other websites. So this part, let's get into the biometrics that, get scanned from you. Also, wait, as a fun little thing, before I try this, I wanted to try signing up for a Trump account with you guys without scanning my biometrics to see how far I could get and see what's loading on each page. Which, okay, it's preserving. Okay, so let's grab. Yeah, this Stripe, that's fine. So Beacon, email, copy, Robinhood. Yeah, Robinhood, I don't totally freaking trust. Sorry, let me just look at a couple things. Most of these are pretty subdued, but I'm curious to see which ones fire, which APIs fire when you start logging into stuff. Okay, let me see what the JavaScripts are. Okay. Not seeing any of the post hogs. Oh, the Golden Eagle. Oh, we got to talk about the Golden Eagle. Well, maybe we'll talk about the Golden Eagle in a second. The Golden Eagle and Sentry.org, basically. So real quick, TLDR. The Golden Eagle is, there's a window.app brand that's called Golden Eagle. Let me see if I can find it on the sources. Whatever, I'll just show you over here. So the Golden Eagle is really interesting because it is this custom government app, essentially, which is a Robinhood's existing web app in the branding, but is swapped. So the Sentry DSN, which it'll give you like a line of code of what the DSN is, which is the .ingest.ussentry.io, is Robinhood Sentry organization. And 2 independent proofs show in a bulletproof way that these demo gods basically are ever since, or like right when you get onto the website, it is going to be recording every live moment of you being on the website. So it's kind of like a wrapped up like post hog. And I guess if you haven't seen the videos where I talked about post hog, it might be confusing, but it's tracking everything, like your clicks and your, when you just move your mouse across screen. Oh, why did this get small? weird. But in any case, did it get bigger now? Oh, no. Oh, weird. Gabby, where are you taking this thing? Okay. I don't know where it's going. It's fine. So anyways, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to reshare my screen try to sign up for a Trump account and see what happens. Okay, share screen. I believe. Oh, that's right, because it won't show you. Oh, interesting. It's not showing you the log. Oh, Let me try sharing the window and see if that helps. Because yeah, I guess that would be confusing for you guys if you weren't seeing what I was talking about. Let's try the window. Let's see. Now you can see the log. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. We'll get better. We'll practice more. So this is the golden eagle that I'm talking about let me see, get it a little bit bigger. Oop, not that. Let's refresh. Get down here. Golden eagle. There we go. So this is the golden eagle that I was talking about. And there's always golden eagles on these websites. Like it's the same thing on Trump RX, and they're wrapping basically in that golden eagle that you might think looks like an asset from the outside. And this is what Larry Ellison used to do. These like little cookies that are monitoring everything that you do. Fun fact, Larry Ellison, a little sidebar tangent. No, it's never a sidebar with Larry Ellison. So the reason I know about some of this stuff is because in my deep studies of him, I learned that he was doing something similar in 2024 that he had just stopped doing. He did it from like 2015 to 2024, where he would buy all of these different platforms and websites, and he would essentially create a tech stack without you even knowing it. It'd be stuff like the website that would have those embedded, where you can click share to Facebook. It's like a little square, but think late 2010s kind of embedded, or like share to Twitter or whatever. And they would have cookies in them, and then they would grab onto you. They would be on everything that you wouldn't even see sometimes. It'd be on like adult websites and all of these places, and it would grab onto you and it would track you. And then he bought this other website that would have an invisible tracker, like a little square that you wouldn't be able to see, that would load on your page. And then that would start tracking you in a different way. And essentially he had like these 4 websites that were creating a tech stack. And by 2023, he had, I think he said, on more than like 40 million Americans or something like that, these complete dossiers, and he'd brag about it at these ad conferences and whatnot. He got sued for it in a public lawsuit and had to pay out in 2024. But then that's why I find it interesting that then all of a sudden in 2025, what do you know, this National Design Studios starts ramping up, and they're putting together this executive order that is essentially loading these same kind of little tricks. So I hate to say it, but he's a great teacher in that way. So anyway, so that's Golden Eagle. I'm going to close this for now, and we're going to try signing up for a Trump account. Let me just pull this guy only. See, that's the wrong one. Let me grab this. Oop. Oh no, Gabby, I'm going wild. There we go. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's sign up. Let's see how far it'll let me go without sharing my biometric data. Okay, note on data sharing. By using this Trump Accounts app, you authorize the request of the U.S. Department of Treasury to access, retrieve, and display the tax information protected by the federal confidentiality laws. Let's see. I'm just going to pull that up on the side just in case I need to reference it for legal reasons. Okay, and that you previously provided on the IRS form. So yeah, you have to fill out this IRS form, which we should pull that up too, for 547. If this feels chaotic, this is how I do my research just in general. So, you guys said you wanted it raw. Here we go. Here is the 4547 Trump account elections form. It's pretty basic, but because a kid can't give their information and can't write, because remember the object permanence kind of thing, a parent is giving their information along with their child's information. And so it does create a bigger net of data that is connected. And then this is the US code, 26 US code 6103 for confidentiality and disclosure. Basically, like I said, you can read through this stuff, but it does, all point to they're supposed to have a privacy report before they launch stuff like this. And, as far as the National Design Studio goes, who's helping build the websites, they do not, and they should. Oh, damn. Immediately hit with a Trump accounts. Let's see, July 7th today. The privacy statement explains how Robinhood, as defined below, I'm not going to read the whole thing with you right now. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Financial privacy notice. Oh, interesting. The Robinhood financial privacy notice. Here we go. Oh. What does Robinhood? Robinhood was, I believe, hacked in 2020, were they not? And there was like a huge data breach where they had to pay out like $40 million or something like that to people. So in case you were, they limit the sharing of your data, which is good. At least it's limited. And you have to opt out. Love it, love to see it. Okay. Robinhood crypto. No Trump account. The options available to share data service account. This option is not available. Okay. Anyways, sorry. We'll go back to. So I guess we can't get too far with the Trump account unless I want to put in an email address. I'll put in a fake email address. Not a fake. That's because that might be illegal. I'm not doing that. This is a real email address. Let's do. Oh, now I gotta go to the code. You're not gonna see my code. It's okay. I think that this will be fun. This is like a little class experiment. Let me go to my email. There it is, my Trump account. It's a Proton mail, so it's Gooch. It's Gooch. Gooch stands for Gucci, in case anybody was no free advertising. Okay, let's say Trump account 1, 2, 3. You guys heard that because I don't have a kid. I don't qualify for these accounts. No, I'm not gonna give it my phone number. Okay, so pretty interesting, right? How far we get with it. They already have mine. No, I'm not gonna do it because that's not a good practice. I told you not to think like that. In any case, don't send your kid up that. Wait, your kid doesn't have a phone number though. But what if I get some interesting texts from the Trump kid? That might be cool. I'll give him a Google number. Yeah, I got a Google number. I can give it. Let me do that. Uno momento. This is fun. Okay. I'm having a great time. I wanted to do it live with you guys and not do it beforehand so I could give my honest reaction. This is that. Okay, here's my Google Voice number, which I don't ever use, so don't be weird about it, guys. I'm actually going to pull it off while I put my Google Voice number on really quick. Not that I use it, but see if it allows it. Verify my number. Oh, wait, now I got to send a link to my real phone number from Google. Oh, God. Okay. Wait, was my phone number 3? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I got a new number. Okay. Send code. For this much protection, for them still being able to steal my data, this is quite exhausting. Okay. Okay. Anyways, hey guys, I'm gonna ask a question to everybody. Put it in the comments. Who has a baby, an infant baby? You don't have to say their name or anything about them, but who has an infant baby and would find value in signing up for a Trump account? I'd be curious to know. And we can talk about it after when we do supers. Trump account won't let me use a Google Voice number. Dang. All right, we tried, guys. We tried. And it's okay that we failed this time. I don't like it though. I wish maybe we'll download the app later and I'll play around with it. In any case, back to where we were in the breakdown of this. Okay, so facial geometry is where I was going to go before we got distracted. So Robinhood's own privacy statement says that it extracts facial geometry from selfies. And the Treasury's PCLIA, which was that document I showed you, describes an ordinary selfie for ID verification, which is different because it checks the box that's marked does not utilize AI. And I'll show you right here. Over, yeah, here we go. Share screen. I feel like I am running a marathon here. We got this, this. Okay, so this is the that PCLIA that I was telling you about, and you can see down here when it says that what this information that is being essentially collected, and it does go through things like crime forecasting and crime related information for financial crimes and stuff like that. They check the box that for what applies in terms of AI systems, AI data that's going to be run across it, and they say none of the above. This information system does not utilize AI. So the Treasury says that. Meanwhile, you go over to Robinhood and they're going to ask for a biometric scan of your face. Biometric scans of your face utilize AI. That's how you get a biometric scan that's different from a flat face scan. That's why a face scan or a flat regular photo is not the same as a biometric scan. Because biometric scans use LiDAR, and that uses AI to then map your face and then store it. So there is I would say conflicting information, but I believe we should just call it a lie because that's what it is. It is a lie. They check that box, and that sucks. So that's good to know before you sign your kid up for any of this. And so I guess the question that leaves you with is, if Robinhood is collecting that biometric scan of your face, does the program from NDS extract that biometric identifier or not and store it on their own servers? That's kind of the big question that I would have if this was my kid doing it, because these two official documents don't agree. And that's worth, at the very least, going on to X and Joe Gebbia's account and bullying him about until he answers, because if he can't answer that, then we have a problem on the record that can't be answered. And then there's the payment retention. So the SORN, which is the Treasury's own system of records notice, says that the records are treated as permanent because the NARA, listen, I know acronym city when it comes to the government, record schedule doesn't exist yet. So in the Treasury's own text, it says that the social security numbers and financial data of millions of children held indefinitely under the record schedule that hasn't been written. And this is also very concerning because essentially what you're asking a bunch of Americans to do as the Treasury is to kind of trust that you'll do it correctly later. And that's also something that I'm finding with the Trump administration is there's a lot of we'll get around to this later. We're going to, kick it over to 3 months from now when we will create this in the text. And then usually the text is not as all-inclusive as it promises that it will be. Now, let's see. Let me grab really quickly. Here we go. So in the migration of this, we should be able to file for COPA if you have a kid that you want to have this account to get at the presidential, or to have them send over the COPA Act for the child-directed services and the protection app for the parent-facing app that is run partly by the federal office. And so if that is something that concerns you and you would like to ask how to do that, go ahead and put that in the chat too, and we'll go over some of those questions later. Because if you do want to sign your kid up for this, then no judgment, just know what you're giving up first and know what you should ask the administration before you sign it up, or sign yourself and your kid up. And then let's talk financial literacy debunk, which is something that the PBS documentary video brought up earlier. So there's a story that's going around that the government is pushing a financial circulation on your kids, curriculum on your kids, in this way that they're going to circulate this $1,000 and let it compound into something that your kid can have as seed money to invest in their future. right? And while I totally believe the administration wants to do that, as they've shown in the past, I did go looking through what some of these curriculums were, and there are 13 mechanics articles about this, essentially, one ETF, and exactly 0 curriculum on what it means to be financially literate, right? Like you go to the .gov account, which we can go back to here, and it makes all of these promises that it's so scary to see this. And this is in the EOP. This is an EOP, Executive Office government account, that it's like the app and all of the government website and stuff is going to have all this, literature helping your infant learn how to be financially stable, which is just such a funny thing to think about, that like they literally think that we're going to buy, and some people I guess do buy into this idea that you can teach your infant to be financially more stable with this literature that they have available, and you can add kids to the accounts. And I really do want to download the app. Gabby, maybe we'll use your face. Yeah. We'll sacrifice poor Gabby. We'll sacrifice Gabby's face for it. Jumpstart their financial future, blah, blah. But yeah, there's no literature on any of this. They said curriculum. They have all of these promises, but literally a Chipotle? What are we doing here? Nobody is offering literature in this. Of course, Uber. Oh my God. Joe Gebbia, by the way, is he created, or he was co-founder of Airbnb. Let's go to X really quick. And let's actually see what Joe Jebs, oh wait, I see on my recycling plastic, complete fraud. This guy, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Gebbia. He's the guy with Trump accounts. They are pushing this hard, dudes. My dudes, this is why it's a full-time job, even just trying to like rag on them online. Look, be respectful, and by respectful I mean anytime I encourage people to go and ask these questions online, harassing is never, in a mean way, is never the way to get answers, right? When I say it, I mean that by asking these questions, this is something that got me blocked by Oracle on LinkedIn, Oracle Health, but it's worth it because when you ask questions like, hey, is there a firewall in between my data and all of these DOD contracts? And then they don't answer it, and then they start taking moves like to block you, that becomes a on the record action that was taken, and that becomes something that you file away for later, and then you're able to use potentially in the court of law. And for a while I had Oracle's PR person was like looking at my LinkedIn profile like 3 times a day. He's since stopped, but be mindful of, these guys get pissed off pretty easily. However, it's important, I think, to keep up when they like are circulating this stuff. Part of what makes MAGA so successful is they have a very tight social media playbook in how they put this stuff out. They all organize and do it at the same time. And so I think it's important to also show up and ask the questions, and then people don't even know to think to ask in the comment section. But yeah, so he's been #1 app, which makes it a #1 honeypot for data breach for sure for kids. This is the, president, or I guess chief design officer of the National Design Studio, Joe Gebbia. Katie Miller signed her newborn up for a Trump account. Oh, I bet you Caroline Levitt's probably signed her kid up for an account. That sucks, man. I mean, like what are they, $1,000 compounding? Like, imagine asking your employer. I feel like employers, first of all, 1-year-olds and 8-month-olds don't have employers. So interesting. Wait a second. Kids don't have employers at all. I'm starting to get suspicious here about the compound interest when they say and then the employers can add $5,000 a month, a year for it. A kid, it has to wait until they're like, what, 15, 16 to get a job? Yeah, you're not making that much money, kids. God, Gebbia. Anyways, he pisses me off. We're going to stop looking at his page now. So, in any case, no PCLIA filed. Let's see, we're getting to the end of some of this stuff before we go into questions. There's no financial literacy that they promised, no curriculum that I could find. Like I said, 13 mechanics articles, which are like, Edward Big Balls Cornahan or whatever his last name is from DOGE, his naming, not mine. he, I think, and some of those other kids are like the ones writing the mechanics articles and whatnot, but there's no actual curriculum. It's hard to have curriculum when you fired the Secretary of Education, probably. And then you got your, let's see, to file this, and then essentially what you're getting is $1,000, which is going to encourage, I hate to say this, it's going to encourage low income families to sign up for these things because they're going to see, oh, okay, I get $1,000 immediately if I sign up my kid. And that it can be the difference between a family eating for a month or not. And I think it's going to prey on those families. I believe there's a form too. I would love to show you guys that when I read it, it was pretty invasive and it felt targeted towards people who were, let me just pull it up, like, people who had homes or at one point parents that lived in other countries. And it just felt interesting how much they are allowed to ask you for when you're doing this information. Okay, yeah, here it is, the complete form. Oh, the form has changed. Oh, wait, no. There we go. This is it. Let me share this tab. Okay. So the Trump account elections, this is the first, I think, one of the first legislative documents that came out from the IRS about how it was going to work. And it goes through the whole, growth periods. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys. And, how you have to claim a child on this, yada, yada. But I do believe there is a lot on, oh yeah, if you change your name because of marriage, blah, blah, blah. Like essentially assume that everything that you have to answer about your kid is now going to get you and your partner, if you have a partner and have a kid, any of your partners, like let's say they have your kids have a stepdad somewhere. Like there's a lot that you have to give of them. And they also ask for foreign addresses, which I guess makes sense, but it's the kid that wouldn't have foreign addresses. The parent would, and it feels like that's not something you would ask on a Trump account. I guess unless they're worried about parents like funneling like offshore money through a Trump account. I wonder, not that I would do it. I wonder how, what these laws would, anyway, we won't go there yet. But yeah, anyways, I recommend reading through this as well. I will add this to the list of things that we're going to put in the not comment section, the description, so that if you're interested in signing up, like genuinely, if you are interested in signing up to this Trump account, like really read all of the literature. Do not take them at face value for anything. And even when they say they sign up their kids, assume that they don't, because a lot of this stuff, they are not actually signing their kids up for, probably. Yeah, the OBM, the Paperwork Reduction Act, unless it displays OBM control number. Yeah. Don't love this. Don't love a lot of this. Anyways, so with that, my closing sentiments are, it's good to be financially literate. It's even better to be financially responsible. And it's best if you can be both of those things without someone watching you and putting it in a unified database, potentially with another country. But that's a story for another time, because there's a lot going on with our DOD contracts and unifying databases with other certain countries. So I will say that the money is real. If they probably are going to give you that $1,000. For anybody who thinks this is just a grift, I promise you that a lot of what Trump is doing, like, yes, they are grifts in some ways, but these aren't like grabbing cash for him. The grifts are grabbing data from the front end of these websites. These front doors I was talking about, the National Design Studio being the front end of a website, which is not necessarily held to the same standard as the back end of like where it's being collected, is how they get through those loopholes. So if something is running in the HTML of the front end of the website, that's great for us because we can see it if you know to look for it. However, it skirts a lot of laws that need to be updated about that kind of collection system, because usually the laws just govern how the databases that are holding them run them, if that makes sense. And so the FAA, which is the Financial Agency Agreement, and the actual contract that is governing the data and the money is something I've created a FOIA for, and I'm going to be sending out tomorrow. And I think it's important to keep an eye on anything that the National Design Studio is attaching its name to. It is running the mechanics and the wheels on the front end of something that otherwise is going to be held to a higher standard on the back end. So they are grabbing stuff before we get a chance to even subpoena for it, which is why I've been watching them. And so, goo goo gaga, the US Constitution, passports, and Trump accounts, you trade in your rattles for routing numbers. Those were some of the jokes I had, and I didn't have time to work in. So thank you. No, with that, let's go through some questions on this, or just any surveillance questions, really, because I know it's a lot, and there's, this was only announced yesterday, so I'm still wrapping my head around a lot of it. And I am new in my financial literacy career as well. And so, yeah, I think it's cool to talk about these things, and don't feel embarrassed if you do have questions about this kind of stuff, because guarantee I can't answer them for you. With that, let us go into the comments. Okay, so we'll start with thank you to all the supers, by the way. I always forget to plug that at the beginning. I really appreciate you as supers, and I will, make time at the end for all supers. And so if you ever want to ask a question and you want to make sure that it gets gotten to, I will, I absolutely do that. So, Comeback Kid 71. Why is it every time that I go down a deep rabbit hole, I lose the T and become the rabbit hole? Smart and beautiful. Love your work. Wait, when I go down the rabbit hole, I lose the T. Oh, rabbit hole? I don't know. I'm not gonna think too hard about it. But I'm glad that you found us at the bottom of it. What's this alfalfa situation going on here? I've got 4 fans on me right now. Wait, it's hot in my studio apartment. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Comeback Kid. I don't know what that means, but I hope you find your tea. Ryan Burton 1456. What happens to the Trump account money if the child unfortunately dies? Interesting. Is there an answer? Is the answer their intentions? No. Okay. Well, I'll say from what I'm inferring here, I don't think that they're in the business of killing any babies. I genuinely, I don't see a value in that for like a sacrificial situation. Genuinely, they are encouraging people, I think, to sign up. Again, speculative. This would require more research at another time, but genuinely, given the players involved and what they have a history of doing, this is about getting as much information on a child as early as possible financially and whatnot. This is a lot of data that will, once you start intaking it, can just run and train a lot of these supercomputers and create a dossier on a kid that grows into an adult. It's kind of like when you think about Ring cameras. I really hate doorbell cameras so much. I don't hate people who have them. I understand why people have them. And I think that in many ways, a doorbell camera has done more for a single mother who lives alone than any of our laws have in terms of safety. However, I think about the kids who play in the streets of these neighborhoods, and they have all of these cameras watching them that they didn't consent to. The 13-year-old riding a bike, when they're 30, might want to do something that the law does not favor. And all of a sudden, there's all this information that they didn't know. That it just feels not good. Whenever I walk my dog, I live in Los Angeles, and they have a lot of doorbell cameras, a lot of security stuff, and helicopters constantly flying above you. But I always notice that I'm getting like tweeped at a lot whenever you walk by, and it's like, you're on camera. And it just is a bit dystopian to think about how doorbells used to be a welcoming surprise, like, oh, let me know that you're here. Oh, who's there? And now it's, who's there, kind of, and that doesn't feel good. Anyways, what were we talking? We were talking about Trump money. Oh yeah, no, I don't think that they're going to kill kids, or if that's what you're saying. I don't think so. I don't see the benefit that they would get out of that, But if that's not what you are saying, then we need to. I do think it's interesting to look at what happens when you die. I assume what the Treasury normally does with accounts like that, it probably goes to the parent, But Farallones or Farallones 30. Such important work. You're doing great. Thank you. Such important things, like for you guys to show up is important, just as important, if not more important than the work. So thank you for listening to it. Pretty but weekend with Mitch calm. Oh, John Jed Jordan says pretty but weekend with Mitch calm. I don't know what that is, but I'm not gonna Google it just out of respect. Let's see, we have Kaz Flanagan. Keep going, girl. You're my favorite YouTube savant. Oh, thank you. The lives, we're getting there with the lives. God bless Gabby. She really, anytime anything good happens, it's Gabby who did it. So I appreciate you guys hanging with us while we work through a lot of this. Then we have Miss Tanka Jahari 123. I signed up when I did my taxes, and now I got an email to activate their account, but IDK if I'm going to do it. Interesting to think about. What made you want to, well, I'm not that maybe you're not on the stream anymore, but I would think about what made you want to sign up for it. And given the knowledge that we have now, and I'll put a lot of these links, like I said, and this time I mean it, Gabby's going to hold me to it, in the description. Think about what made you want to sign up for it and if it's worth it, because in some ways you could look at it as $1,000 for X amount of information on your kid to the government. And maybe some people think that the government already has that information, like I said, and it's okay. If the government already had that information, they wouldn't be asking for it, is something I like to think about. So I get it. I would be tempted at one point in my life to sign up. The money is good up front, but really look into what you have to give up and what your rights are, because there's a lot of companies involved that are not quite being disclosed, and that's a big deal. But yeah, do definitely keep reading. Luckily, you haven't activated it yet. That's great. I'd say maybe hang out on it for like a month or two at least. Let me dig more into it. Let other, investigative journalists and economists look into it before making those kinds of decisions. But it's good that you stopped to think about it. Sav 020, not an infant. Hey, same. Good for you. We did it. But my first kid, COVID kid, was eligible for some fund that my spouse and I had to both create accounts just to opt out. God, isn't there, maybe it's statewide and not nationally, are opt-out laws are a thing, where you have to, I don't know if it's just California that there's I think a law about it has to be opt-in, not opt-out, or it's like the one-click unsubscribe or something like that. They can't bury it, because that's insane. But yeah, COVID funds, that was an interesting time. And I don't want to go into that rabbit hole too far, but there was a lot of financial information that got laundered around during that time within the government too. There's a lot of taking advantage of certain moments with the Democratic and Trump administration. Oh yeah, Trump was during COVID. Yep, feeling sick every time I see him. Remy Kurtley, what's my prognosis if I've already done 23andMe 20 years ago? I love this. Not for you. That sucks. Have most likely consented to many websites to share my data unintentionally. Okay, this is good. Most likely my data has been leaked. Am I just SOL? Okay. So remember, not all data is equal. I could talk for a long time about 23andMe and I won't, but 23andMe asked for your blood samples. Let me pull up a little 23andMe examples. 23andMe, which is now closed down, I believe. Wait, it's not closed down anymore. By the way, I got into a brief, an aside. I got into a brief, no, I guess she thought we were friends, with Elizabeth Holmes on X, where we were beefing about some stuff. And I thought I was beefing with Elizabeth Holmes, but then I found out it's her husband that's running her account, because Elizabeth Holmes is still in jail. She's the one who had Theranos, which is another similar 23andMe thing. And I was kind of not cyberbullying, but not cyberbullying Elizabeth Holmes deservedly. Come on, Larry Ellison was an early investor in that. Anyways, then I think that the husband, which I could tell was the husband by the end of it, thought we were friends and I was being playful. So anyways, I have an in with Elizabeth Holmes if you guys ever want to chat with her. No, I don't. Okay. So here we go. 23andMe share screen. Here we go. 23andMe always reject all with this stuff. It's still active. Interest. Oh, Time's Best Inventions Hall of Fame 2025. Inventions for what? For hackers to be able to get your genomic information? Free shipping. Oh my God. It's so weird that blood can be. It's blood. Wait, is 23andMe blood? Or is it spit? Or FDA authorized pharmacogenetics insights, health reports. Let's see, what is it? Oh my God. Yeah, whatever those things are. Okay, wait. 23andMe blood or spit. It is saliva sample, not blood. So Theranos was blood, saliva, which is still DNA. To answer your question, sorry, Rem, I promise I'm not forgetting your questions. The test is for spit collection. Most adults can fill the tube. Oh yeah, you got to spit a lot of things. I never did it. My mom did it a lot, unfortunately. And what sucks though is it's a family tree, right? You're not just an individual who was like poofed onto the earth one day. You have either kids, you definitely have parents or had parents, you have, cousins and nephews and uncles and aunts and whatever. And when you give up any amount of your data, a portion of that data is shared with anybody you're a relative to. And with AI, again, we were able to do this back in like the early 2000s, but definitely now you can use different tools to go through the pattern recognition of these different cells and different DNA strands and whatever, and it can put together family trees based off of just one person's DNA. I believe that the identifiers, it's like less than 12 identifiers that you can put together like an entire family tree. So be thoughtful about not only you, but also the family that you are going to be putting into that. To answer your question, you're not SOL. You're never SOL. Do not ever get in the mindset of SOL because that's what they want you to think. In fact, to show you an example of that mentality and that framing, because that is a propaganda move that a lot of these countries and companies do. Let me share this screen. This is the National Biometric Database Authority from Israel, one of their websites. It won't let me go too far into it because like I click around and it kicks me out. But it's called the BDMA, and blah blah blah. You can go through the establishment, last updated in 2020. If you follow me on social media, I was talking a little bit about this over the last few days as well. But there is a part that says, yeah. So this is written by the Israeli government, and they say there was a pushback from the Israeli people in this database. Essentially, it's a database likely run by like Oracle Clouds or the like, and it collects all of the population data, meaning your behavioral and your health information, and puts it together in a database. And the Israeli people learned that when they started collecting, the government of Israel started collecting Palestinian data in Gaza, that data was not separated far at all from their data. And they were like, hey, we know what we're doing to people in Gaza. We don't like what, having our data next to Palestinian data like that, because we don't want you to do that to us. And they said, fat chance, essentially. And that's what this kind of update was about. And so, it's a very defensive document that goes through what smart ID is and how they're using it and all of that. And the database contains facial image and 2 fingerprints of documentation of the documentation holders 4 fingers. It tells you how they do it. The database does not contain any other data that you know of. The database does not contain names. Doesn't need to. It's got your fingerprint that can only go to one person. It doesn't need your name. Do they think we're stupid? God, does not contain ID numbers, does not contain residential address. Oh, well, as long as it's just my fingerprint and just my genomic data and not my address, whew, I'm good. Like, come on, dudes, grow up. Does not contain the age, and obviously not DNA. We'll get into that in a second, because it absolutely does, nor any other identifying biographical or demographic data. How a fingerprint, first of all, is biographical data. And biographical data can link you to a person, which can link you to a place of where that person is. Like, I cannot stress enough to you guys how little information you need in order to find anyone, anywhere, at any time doing anything. Anyways, no information on bank accounts unless you have a Trump account, ownership of assets, or any other identifying information. Right. Okay, whatever. So the reason I bring this up is because the encrypted identifiers. They talk about, how they protect it. The biometric data of millions of the country's residents are stored in the databases of the IDF, the Employment Service, and the Ministry of Interior, which I think is interesting because the Ministry of Interior, or the Interior Federal Department of this administration, has been very busy with a lot of money laundering. So I do think it's interesting that the Interior, Israel kind of does a lot with theirs too. Worth looking into at some point. The Israeli Airports Authority for fast passage. Anytime, again, with these Trump passports, if they start saying, oh, it's going to be like faster than the fast lane of whatever, it comes at a cost, and nothing for free in this country, or multiple countries, and the mobile phones and banks. Bear in mind that as a part of legislation of the biometric law, only the data of 2 fingerprints and a photograph of the face will be collected. Again, they probably don't say LiDAR scan of a mapping of your face, but it's not a picture of your face. It is, even if you take it on your phone has LiDAR sensors on it. That's how you're able to do like face open to your, like you can't hold a picture of yourself up to open your phone. That is a little red dot that you can barely see. Sometimes at night you can see it and it flashes and it's doing a scan of your face, right? The difference in having it in your phone, especially if you have Apple, it is stored locally. It's on a chip that is inside your phone that if the government allegedly wants to get it, they have to come break your phone open and take that chip that way. Now, if you share it amongst third-party apps, that's a different story, but theoretically. So the biometric database is a unique in that no biographical or demographic data are stored in it, and it does not contain or link to identity. That sentence doesn't make sense. A fingerprint with a scan of your face does not contain a link to an identity. Like it doesn't contain an embedded link, because that is a legitimate, just like factual link to your identity, a fingerprint. So I just don't, again, maybe it's just poor translation, but it's wrong. I would hope it's poor translation, which I don't know how many ways to translate that. Is precisely because of these privacy protection requirements that a decision was taken in the effort that biometric database would be based on applicants joining and not taking the information from other biometric databases that the applicant has joined at various stages of their lives. This is really interesting. So many tangents. I'm sorry, guys. We'll come back to Trump accounts in a second. I believe on the record that part of the reason why there's such a push against trans people or people who have changed their name, like, women who get married or anybody who changes their gender and stuff, that is data poisoning, essentially. So I find this really fascinating. And this gives so much, I hope, power to people who are trans and are pushing back, because I think that part of the reason why they are so badly wanting to make you use your real name on this and stuff, there's, I'm sure, a little bit of a religious element, but today religion is only the shell of what their actual needs are, right? It's a good way to get to people, but it's not the reason why they do things. We don't go to war these days because of a religion, but it's a really good excuse to get you over there, kind of thing. I think that a big part of being trans or being married and changing your name and all of that is because it poisons data sets and it can't accurately track back to you. So part of why they're wanting to get all this fresh information from us is not have to rely on someone who has changed their name or had, God forbid, lived the identity that they feel, then, they otherwise will have poisoned data sets. So I love that for trans people. And I hope that we can find a way to utilize that more, because I think really in the long run, one of the only things we can do while we fight back and get our government to push back on a lot of these laws and lack thereof, the circumventing of laws for us, is to poison databases where we can. Truly, there are ways we can do a video or a live about that at some point, but I do find that interesting. The whole point I'm over here is because we going down to the Big Brother. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So the data contained in the database does not facilitate any facet of Big Brother that is not already possible today. That was my point. There is this mindset that they want you to be in, that this is all data that is available to the government. The IDF already has it. You might as well just give it over because it's there anyways. And the truth is, you would not be asking for it if it was already possible. You wouldn't be asking me to give it up in this new database if it wasn't already possible for you to access that freely. So I would say that do not get in the mindset of am I SOL? I mean, use it as a learning experience. 23andMe and the it gets treated like not healthcare data, not HIPAA protected, but customer facing. My brain's blanking on what it's called. Customer facing data, where it's marketing companies can buy it, third party apps can buy it. There's not as many laws surrounding it. Anytime you have like a 23andMe or like a Theranos or whatever that is outside of the hospital branches and in the commercial vein. So I wouldn't do it in the future. Data gets leaked, unfortunately. Ask Oracle, that leaks all the time. And so that's why it's so dangerous to have so much data in one place, because it creates a honeypot situation for anybody who wants to get that data. But no, you're not SOL. And this is what they want you to think. They want you to feel SOL and just give it up anyways, and don't, because there's always a way to recover from it. Don't think like that. You're going to be just fine. Well, I'll make sure of it, Remy. Okay. Sorry, that was a whole aside. So, okay, moving. Okay, I have two, Maria B, 2D, 2J. I have two brand new grandbabies, 6 and 5. Congratulations. And 5 under the age of 4. I was interested, but now I don't trust. Like I said, this is not financial advice. But the trade-off doesn't really seem that great to me. If I'm just looking at the information in front of me, knowing that it goes much deeper than even I am able to pull right now, $1,000 doesn't seem like it's going to do that much for anybody, especially considering the caveats around it and the lack of information that is available on what is supposed to have privacy paperwork already attached to it. So yeah, I would say consult. I would say a financial advisor, but sometimes those guys consult, people you trust. I would say consult, listen to what economists have to say. Also listen to what privacy watchdogs have to say. That's where you're going to find your balanced take of, economists can sometimes be bought off. Kyla Scanlon is an economist I really, really like. I'll pull her up her thing right now. Although I think she just got a offer to work for CNN that she's taking, which I don't love. She's so much better on her own. But she's great. She was my kind of first getting into finances, learning about the financial economy and everything from the Gen Z kind of young millennial perspective. She's got a great book out of In This Economy is what it's called. And she has a YouTube channel. She's not active on her YouTube channel anymore, but I really go back and watch her videos. She's really great. If you want to learn more about just kind of the literacy of how the markets work, it's very approachable. Listen to people like that. That will help you learn how to make these kinds of decisions of agency eventually on your own. But yeah, keep your resource bank open wide so that people can't pull the wool over you like this. But the fact that this was shipped on the 4th of July when banks are closed tells you exactly how much planning went into this Trump accounts stuff. But congratulations on your 2 new grandbabies. Oh, we gotta make sure that Barron doesn't have his grandkid that he just had sign up for this. I'm sure he won't, but just in case. Someone remind Barron not to sign up the kid for that. Okay. Amanda Wheatley Burkett, 1858. This is fascinating. I love the way you connect the dots. I don't understand how these accounts aren't a way for the government to fund investments. I mean, honestly, I don't think that there's going to be a lot of, genuinely do not think that the intention of NDS, National Design Studio, is fraud. I mean, maybe that's something that just happens because of it, but I don't think that that is the intention. Just based off of what I found, I genuinely think that the fraud that's happening here is more on the data side. So these accounts are just here, it costs $1,000 to get a lifetime of information on your kid and the 2 parents. That's worth the charge, right? That's, I think, how they're viewing it. But yeah, I'm sure that people are going to abuse the accounts too, especially if there's not a lot of paperwork that's going to be monitoring them, or if AI is monitoring it, then it's probably going to be a way to create more of a crime surveillance apparatus of sorts. It's worth keeping in mind. And Greg Deckelman, 21755, maybe contact the guys who catch scammers in real time for tips and tricks. Oh wait, we got to get CopyZilla on this. That's a good reminder. in your deep dives. I'm sure they would help. No, pardon me while I swoon. Okay. Thanks, guys. We should get CoffeeZilla on this because what a dream to work with CoffeeZilla. I would be interested in his take. He's somebody also, along with Kyla, that I would trust to give you good information about this kind of stuff for sure. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear his take on this. I wonder if he's looking into it at all. And if anyone wants to encourage him to collab with me on this, I would consider it. Oberwise 7190. What sort of investment vehicles are available for these accounts? Are they using these to funnel rescue money into AIBS or other crap funds and claim it's good for the people? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I think that there are a lot of opportunities for fraud and stuff to happen here. Again, I think that this is genuinely about tracking a literal infant's information in a way that the National Design Studio seems to feel so proud of that they are going to repost and push literally all day. And so that's what I think. But I don't know if it's funneling rescue money into AI or anything like that. I think AI has plenty of money in it already. And then last but not least, we have T. Ann Graham. I worked for a population tax prep service for the 25-year tax. We had to ask them if they wanted to sign their child up for the Trump account. It was the tax software. Love your work. Oh, interesting. Like yeah, I bet some companies are like partnering with them in a way that makes you have to ask. Do you think Chipotle is asking everybody if they want to sign up for a Trump account too, given that they are partners? That's interesting. I saw that Charles Schwab is a partner. I mean, listen, financial places are not exactly the squeaky cleanest, so it doesn't surprise me, but it is sad. So listen, I'll end it there, guys. I appreciate everybody for coming in today and asking questions and for being interested in this stuff. This is something I'm going to make a full video on after probably my next video, to just go more in depth. I'm not an economist, like I said, and I would probably rely more on people who, on the financial side of what this could cost. But as somebody who focuses on the data side, it doesn't look good. And it doesn't seem like a good ROI. That means return on investment for those of you financial guys out there. But yeah, I would just be very precious about your data. If you lose it, sometimes you can get it back, but also who knows what's going to be sitting next to you these days. And so with that, Gabs, could you play us off with the old music? Thanks so much for joining the Dre Dossier tonight on the live where we talk about Trump accounts, babies going to Wall Street. We'll fade in and see us next week for the continuation of I'm going to make people look at you while you do it too. The continuation of the Trump accounts. Oh, is it playing?
You haven't told everyone that it's your birthday yet.
Well, it already happened, guys. I'm
yeah,
out. I
2 days
can't
ago.
do a Trump
Audrey,
account. I'm out of the Trump accounts. I can't get one anymore.
Dre's not good. She's too humble to tell you guys that 2 days ago it was her birthday. Can we all sing in unison?
No, we're not singing. No, I'll get copyrighted. No.
That's not copyright.
Yeah, it literally. I'm pretty sure that there are birthday songs that I'm not chancing it. I appreciate the sentiment though. Let's play out the copyright-free song.
And I will play the music out. Happy birthday.
Did you? Hey guys, the intro music, by the way, I found at the library, the copyright library, or the copyright-free one, whatever, on the federal database. So it's a good song for copyright-free, which is why we play it out. When I had anybody who watched my live with Becca Day, I didn't realize that the thing that she pulled up on her phone had the YMCA song on it. That was my first copyright hit. It was a good lesson. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us this week. We'll see you next week on the Dre Dossier. And everyone be well. Don't give your data up, not for $1,000, not worth it.